Hi, my name is Juan and the movie I'm going to discuss today is Glory. Glory was released in 1989 and directed by Edward Zwick. Also, many big-name actors headlined this film. Matthew Broderick as Colonel Robert Shaw was the main point of view of the movie. Second, Denzel Washington, or was known as Private Trip throughout the movie. And lastly, Morgan Freeman, who was known as Major John Rawlings throughout the movie. This film was also nominated for many awards upon its release. Glory is based upon the 54th Regiment of Massachusetts of the Civil War, and to me, they are the regiment that changed the war forever. They were a group of black men who lived different lives before their army days. From grave diggers to free man to former slave, it didn't matter because they are now all a part of the 54th Regiment of Massachusetts and fought for the Union Army. The Union Army mainly brought these men together because they weren't doing so well in the Civil War at that time, so they needed all the help they can get. So, they picked Colonel Robert Shaw, who was the son of a Boston abolitionist, to be their leader. Robert Shaw was in war before, and he didn't do too well in war, so he just assumed, just because of the color of their skin, that the 54th Regiment wouldn't do too well either. So he had his doubts from the beginning about taking this group over. And eventually, he'd be proved wrong. In the South, these men of color were fighting for freedom in their lives, but in the North, they were fighting for dignity, honor, and respect. Just because they were in the North didn't mean they'd be treated better, because honestly, they might have been treated worse. They were very underfed compared to the white soldiers. Also, they didn't have the same equipment as the white soldiers, or the same training. Also, their pay was also less than the white soldiers. This caused an uproar in the ranks, and none of the men would accept their pay. Even Colonel Shaw was very, very angry with this. This showed unity between the ranks, and after this moment in the movie, the bond between the 54th Regiment was unbreakable. Finally, after proving their worth, the 54th Regiment was finally allowed to enter a battle, the Battle of Fort Wagner. While their run was short-lived, these men of color had a far greater impact than they probably ever would have realized. They opened the doors for future African American soldiers for years and years to come, because before them, there weren't any. They honestly weren't allowed. And after this point, they proved that not only should they be allowed, they should be encouraged. Because without them, who knows if the North would have won the war. President Abraham Lincoln credited these men of color for being the tide that turned the war. Because before them, like I said before, there was no black soldiers enlisted in the Union Army. And after them, that number skyrocketed to almost 180,000 men. Think about that. You can't tell me that they're not the regiment that changed the war. And without them, who knows if the North even would have won. Thank you for your time.